Hey everybody, welcome back to Amazon Suspension Trends. Chris McCabe at e-commerce. Chris here, coming back at you with appeals, errors, easily avoidable mistakes I see people making, and just poorly constructed strategies that are hampering their ability to get their account or their ASIN reinstated quicker. And sometimes even if they've been accused of something, falsely accused by Amazon or by another party, poor reactions to it, or just badly put together responses that either don't answer what Amazon was bugging them about, or maybe increase the likelihood that their account will be suspended, or certainly just push them deeper into the hole of not being reinstated from a suspension. And this is coming up a lot more with sellers reporting each other. There's lots of anti-competitive attacks where sellers like to accuse each other of different things. Sellers know how to report abuse to Amazon teams 10 times better than they did, let's say, 2 years ago, or even 18 months or 12 months ago. I've seen a lot of sellers that are looking for loopholes to exploit in terms of, let's make some false accusations against the seller and just see if Amazon fumbles it, misunderstands what we're saying. Fake IP claims and things like that, those are as old as the hills. But I'm even talking about accusations about review abuse that wasn't happening. Sellers claiming they've been attacked by another seller, but they've just kind of fabricated the attack. They weren't really being attacked. They just wanted to see if Amazon would fall for it or go for it. And then on the other side, I've seen a lot of sellers acknowledging policy violations that they weren't even doing, which is puzzling. And I've seen thorough misunderstandings of the dispute and allegation path versus the acknowledge and admission of guilt path. And I guess I'll start there with, I don't know why people can comment or contact me at e-commerce Chris and tell me why sellers who are not guilty of certain offenses are admitting to doing them. It's probably hurting their account health. It's making it more likely that account health assurance teams are going to contact them and say, you've got 72 hours to appeal to maintain active status, to explain why you were doing these things you admitted to doing. I've been speaking to sellers who said, you know what? We clicked the acknowledge button, or we submitted an entire appeal sometimes admitting fault and acknowledging it just to get it over with, just to get rid of it. A lot of those people wound up suspended. And different answers came back. Some people were like, I don't know, we didn't really know what it meant. We thought it was a mistake. We didn't take it seriously. We just had our VA do it. And our VA doesn't really know this stuff or have any experience with it. Or some staff member, or they just went through the motions without thinking about it. And they kind of, went on autopilot. Never admit to something that you could potentially dispute. I mean, I'm not telling you to send in a dispute appeal and waste Amazon's time if the dispute has no merit and you're just scrambling or stalling or buying time and you know you're going to be rejected. That's not fruitful. And that makes you look a lot worse than you need to look. But I thoroughly do not understand why sellers are submitting appeals. Here's an example. They'll just say, well, we've been attacked by competitors before. It looks like we're getting attacked by competitors now. It looks like it's similar to our last attack, which was 6 months ago, XYZ happened, and we appealed that, and here's what we said then, and we think it's the same thing again, without even knowing if that's what's going on. Sometimes they haven't even called account health to talk about it or tried to get any information from their SaaS core rep. I mean, they probably, if you're paying for it, did talk to them, but maybe they didn't even get an answer back from an internal case that their SaaS core rep created. Maybe they didn't even get an answer on what was going on. Never appeal blindly. Never appeal just sitting in the dark with no ray of light coming in where you have no intel, no concept of what's happening to you. If you are being attacked by another seller, they might be counting on you guessing, being confused, not knowing what's going on, not wanting to wait for answers from internal teams, not wanting to spend time talking to account health. A lot of the people we talk to, I don't know if it's a quarter or a third of them, I think their attackers knew that they were going to fumble it from the outset. And that's why they attacked in the first place. They knew the seller had no strategy for defending themselves. Or they knew that you were just going to admit an offense, like attacking another seller, or defacing someone's detail page, or violating their intellectual property. They're just stress testing you, and they're either attacking you. It's not always an attack. Sometimes Amazon makes a mistake. It's a glitch. You get sent the wrong message. An investigator was assigned your account along with a big pile of others. They looked at it. They did the wrong thing. They sent you the wrong message. It's not always an attack from a seller or a competitor. It could be an attack, quote unquote, from an Amazon employee who has no idea what they're doing, and it's just incompetence. But either way, that's nothing. You admit, you dig into it, you find out what's going on. If you can't get any details, then you use that as the basis for your dispute, right? Until they're willing to tell you something about it, you dispute it because it looks like, based on your research, your examination, that there was absolutely nothing you did to violate that policy or commit the offense they're talking about. And also, isn't this just part of your due diligence anyway? I mean, what if Amazon did make a mistake? What if it wasn't incompetence? What if the Amazon employee was misled by somebody with a sophisticated scheme to make it look like you were breaking policy, right? Best example of that would be people who their competitors created entire Facebook pages, making it look like they were trying to get 5-star reviews in exchange for $100 gift cards. None of it was real, right? It was a complete fabrication. That happened a bunch of times, and sellers reported their competitors for doing something that the seller himself created, and Amazon employees were falling for it. They weren't doing their own due diligence. First off, don't admit to things. Don't just start blaming Amazon without knowing if that's the cause of the problem, without blaming competitors, and without scrutinizing your own internal operations, because maybe there are people who work with you, either an agency or a service provider or some sort of consultant or VA, who did something you don't even know about, right? So don't start pointing fingers until you shine the light on your own shop and figure out what's going on internally. Disputes do get accepted when they're valid, when you produce evidence, and when they're properly formulated, of course, with the right language and the right process and strategy, submitted to the right teams or people. Lots of people just don't understand what a dispute is. Amazon doesn't tell you much about it. They don't expect too many disputes to come in. And so they just go straight to the admission and the acknowledgement. And I think that derives back in the days of, we'll write a plan of action. Amazon doesn't really care what the situation is, right or wrong. They just want us to admit something. They just want us to say, we'll submit an improvement plan. The POA, plan of action days, are kind of over at this point, unless they specifically ask you for a specific kind of POA. You shouldn't just be doing one on your own just because you don't know what else to do, just in the absence of better knowledge. That's not a strategy, right? That's you guessing. That's you operating in a state of confusion, probably hurting yourself more than helping yourself. What's the point of doing that? You could do almost anything other than that and have a better outcome than doing that. So don't just admit. I understand that they might steer and guide you in the direction of, yeah, we think you did something wrong, so that means you definitely did something wrong. So start admitting it. I mean, you could be pounding your account health score or rating into submission at that point. I also just want to talk for a moment about people who don't even consider whether or not it can be disputed. They just do the acknowledgement just to get rid of it, because they think, hey, Amazon's encouraging us to believe that this whole thing will go away if we admit it. We've worked with a lot of sellers who it might have gone away temporarily when they admitted or acknowledged that they had committed some offense. They probably didn't even know if they had broken the rule or not, violated some policy. They probably didn't even know if they had violated the policy or not. What they knew was that it felt better to embrace this narrative of, as long as I admit it, it'll get out of my way and I don't have to deal with it. I don't have to write an appeal. I don't have to hire somebody to help me with it. I don't have to bug my agency about it. Whatever the logic was, they paid for it in the long run. It wasn't anything beyond a day or two, a short run strategy. So I'll close on this in terms of blaming your agency, your service provider. Hey, we didn't want to violate TOS. We didn't really know that we hired somebody else to do it. Just understand, if that finds its way into your appeal, yes, Amazon wants to know if there's an agency out there who's just ruining everyone's day. They do want to know if your third-party service provider is wantonly breaking the rules at Amazon and helping sellers violate policies. Of course, they want that intel and that information. It doesn't mean you're going to necessarily get much out of it by telling them that that's what's going on. So food for thought. Don't count on blaming another party, but also don't expect that you can repeatedly blame yourself for violations just to acknowledge performance notifications and get them out of your way. Think about the ones that you can dispute, deep dive it, do an investigation, have a meeting, ask questions, do some research internally, figure out what's going on, because otherwise you might be sending in some misguided appeals and then Amazon comes back and says, oh, we need to hear more about this. And you're like, well, we don't really have anything else to tell you because we don't even know what's going on. That's probably not going to work if you put it in an escalation email down the road when you're trying to save your account health or your Amazon business. So questions on that? Obviously, we're always around. ecommercechris.com is a great place to start, or email me, Chris, CHRIS, at ecommercechris.com. See you next time.